What is up, all of you awesome, amazing people on YouTube? The old coot here coming at you with a final update on this fireplace fire. So I started this about 2 hours ago and it's still blazing. Like the heat, the radiant heat that is coming off of this thing. I can't even get too close to it. It's that hot. But we started with 5 logs total. There was one pine in the back. Then I had one almond in the front, and I always put the bigger piece or the biggest piece that I have in the front. So that way, if the fire falls or when the fire falls, it'll fall back towards the back of the fireplace. And then what I did was like a tic-tac-toe pattern, right? A crosshatch pattern, tic-tac-toe. I put 2 almond pieces on either side on top of the 2 that were on the bottom, right? Like tic-tac-toe, like crisscrossed. And then I had a final piece of oak on top of all that. So what happened was to get the fire started, I had a cardboard egg crate underneath at the very bottom with some newspaper and like some pine shavings, right? Little pine sticks, like toothpick, not toothpick, but a pencil size, like basically shavings of pine with all the pine oil and the pine tar to kind of get the fire started. So that ignited the pine log that was in the back, right in the bottom of the back. And then basically once that pine log caught, it just turned into a disco inferno. It was just blazing hot for like an hour and a half. Now the heat's kind of like plateaued, but even with these coals down here, a lot of those coals are just like roaring hot. I mean, it's almost impossible to get close. But for setting it once and forgetting it, right? Set it and forget it. This will go another hour at least of this intensity heat. So for a set it and forget it fire in your fireplace, that's what I did. 5 logs. Normally what I would do is I would do pine, right? 1 log of pine with maybe, there it goes, it falls. Maybe 1 log of pine with maybe 2 logs or 2 pieces of oak. And that's usually enough. But I just want to kind of experiment tonight and see what, the different woods, what all 3 woods would be like all together at the same time. And that right there is a piece of almond, which I'm probably going to throw on there in a little while just to kind of carry me over until, maybe an hour or 2 before bedtime. Always make sure your fire's out, especially if you're home. Always make sure your fire's out before you go to bed. You just want to make sure fire safety, all that good stuff. Also have a good screen. See the screen that's in front, like that pop screen, to make sure that those little popping embers don't, come popping out into your living room or whatever. Also, if you can put a little fire screen on the side, like see, I've got this one right here on the side that kind of absorbs some of the heat from going into like that kindling back there, right? And also make sure you have some good, tiling all around your fireplace to protect the walls. You get the idea. If the people that installed your fireplace did a good job, you should be okay. But like I said, view this video at your own risk. This video is for entertainment purposes only. So anyways, with that being said, just wanted to recap real quick. I think in the end, when it's all said and done, I think the best combination of firewood for a fireplace, especially here in Southern California, where limited amounts of wood are available, like certain types of wood are available, I would say pine and oak to me is like the best combination. And I like that combination because pine lights quicker, it lights faster, it lights hotter, right? But with that being said, it also burns quicker, so you don't get as much duration out of it. Like you'll get a high intense heat right off the bat quick. But for sustained heat, right, for keeping the heat going and going and going, like the Energizer Bunny, I think the oak is a little bit better in that respect. So that's why I like the combination together. I put pine in to get the fire started, right? Get a nice roaring start to the fire. Then the oak takes over. The oak burns hot and it burns long. So the oak is harder to light. And that's why I use the pine to get the oak to light. So I'm at the point now where I'm just getting like not wisps, but I'm getting like a good sustained, hot flame on top. Now's a good time to add that almond. I'll probably do that when this video is over. I'm just enjoying the fire right now. But that is a nice bed of hot coals right there. Like if I had a steak and I wanted to cook that steak, this would be the perfect barbecue fire for that. Anyways, if you like what you're seeing, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button down there below. You can always go back in the video playlist and see how we got to this point. You know, like I said, cardboard egg crates are your friend. Basically started with a cardboard egg crate. Then I put some newspaper on top of that. Then on top of that, I put some little pine shavings, right? Some kindling that I had split off of like a main pine log. And then on top of that is when I put, so two pieces kind of like this, like the piece in the front is the biggest piece or log that I have. And then the piece in the, usually it's going to be almond or oak, but in this case, tonight's case, it was almond. In the future, it'll probably be oak. And then behind that, right, kind of like in parallel with some air gaps in between, with an air gap in between, I put the pine log behind that so that when I light the cardboard egg crate, the cardboard egg crate ignites, that lights the pine log in the back. Then the pine log in the back ignites the, you know, for the future, it'll be the oak log in the front. Then on top of those two logs that are like this, I put another two logs that are this way. So 4 logs total, right, of maybe more oak. You know, in the future, it'll probably be 2 oak logs side by side with like a nice air gap in the middle, just so that the fire can breathe from the bottom up, and it just fuels everything around it. And then in tonight's case, what I do is I put a nice piece of oak, another oak log on top of the 4 that were on the bottom. That's basically how I got to this point. So now I'm just going to throw on this piece of almond. That's the last of my almond wood for at least this trip. By the way, make sure you're getting your wood from a reputable source. You know, I like, what is that? California Firewood Sales up in Chatsworth in the San Fernando Valley. I think there may or may not be another location somewhere. You'll have to do your own research. But what was it? Doug and Roy were really helpful, you know, helping me choose like good pieces of wood and all that stuff. And usually, give or take, usually a pine and oak combo, you can get a quarter rack of pine for around $20. You can get a quarter rack of oak for, I forgot how much it was. I think it was like 30 or 35, somewhere in there. So for like, you know, tip them $5. So like for $60, you can get, you know, 2 quarters together is a half. So you can get about a half a rack of pine and oak mixed for like around $60, you know, give or take, somewhere in that ballpark. But wherever you do get your firewood, make sure you get it from a reputable source. Make sure it is cured, right? Like dried in a kiln is ideal, you know, and if you can keep it out of the rain and the moisture, all that stuff, even better. But with that being said, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button down there below. In the comment section, I put some links to select some home furnishing stuff, you know, home cozy, you know, the holidays are coming up and all that good stuff. Maybe you might want to check that stuff out. I'm the Old Coot, and I will catch you all on the next exciting video. Just enjoying a little more ASMR of this fire.